Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Dr. Robinson again, and we're going to continue our studies. This time we're talking about scientific notation, multiplying, and dividing. So let's go over some vocabulary real quick. Scientific notation we got from our other video. It's a way to abbreviate very large or very small numbers using the power of 10. Note, a number written in scientific notation consists of two factors. The first factor is a number greater than or equal to 1, but less than 10. And this is going to be multiplied by a second factor, which is the power of 10. Standard form is a number written using digits and place value in standard form. For example, 8,900,000 is equal to, in scientific notation, as 8.9 times 10 to the 6th power. If you don't know how I got that, check my video on converting to scientific notation. Here's another number, 0.00005230, and that's equal to 5.23 times 10 to the negative 5th power. The steps in multiplying in scientific notation: step 1, multiply their coefficients. Step 2, add their exponents. Step 3, convert the coefficient if the coefficient is smaller than 1 or greater than or equal to 0. So we're going to see what that means when we demonstrate in our first problem. So here's our first problem. We want to multiply the coefficients. So let's get the coefficients and see what those are. The coefficients are the first numbers in each set of the parentheses. So I'm going to take 5.1 and I'm going to multiply that by 2.3. Then my second step, I'm going to multiply the other numbers, which are the 10 to the 4th power times 10 to the 6th power, and I'm supposed to add the exponents. So when I multiply 5.1 times 2.3, and let's just review real quick, 5.1 times 2.3, when I multiply, I'm going to multiply by just remembering I can make this look like 51 by removing the decimal, make this look like 23, and multiply those two numbers. When I multiply 3 times 1 is 3, 3 times 5 is 15, put down my placeholder 0, 2 times 1 is 2, 2 times 5 is 10. Add this up, I get 3, 7, 1, 1. So there is 1173 as my number, but now I got to remember I had two numbers behind the decimal, one up here and one up here, so I have to have two numbers behind my decimal point in my answer. So far I got 11.73 when I multiplied the coefficients. So now the rules for the exponents was I'm supposed to add them. So 10 to the 4th plus the 6 equals 10 to the 10th. So I'll have 11.73 times 10 to the 10th power. Now, this is not scientific notation because the first number has got to be less than 10 and greater than 1 or equal to 1. So if I remove this decimal point over by one space, I am decreasing the number and making it a smaller number. So if I decrease the number, the coefficient, then I have to do the opposite to the exponent. I decreased it by one space or divided by 10, so I have to multiply by 10 or add on one number to this value. So instead of this becoming 10, I'm going to add 1 to it, and that ends up being 10 to the 11th. And that's going to be my scientific notation. So 1.1 173 times 10 to the 11. So this is that third step where we had to convert using the method of moving the decimal point, making it smaller because it was greater than 10. So if we made this smaller, then we have to make the exponent larger by the number of spaces we moved the point. So that's why we got 1.1 times 1.173 times 10 to the 11th. And it was nice if you got 11.73 times 10 to the 10. That's good, but that's not scientific notation. So if your answer is asked to give you a number in scientific notation, always remember the first number has got to be between 1 and less than 10. So between 1 and 10. Okay? All right, so here's a problem for you to try on your own. So multiply and leave in scientific notation form. So you have 6.2 times 10 to the negative 3 times negative 3.7 times 10 to the 7. So remember, get your coefficients together, and that's the first number. And I notice we have a negative number there. So get those together, 6.2 times negative 3.17. Get those together. And then get your exponents together. 10 times negative 10 to the negative 3. Oh, a negative exponent. And 10 to the 7th power. Get that together. Remember the rules. In exponents, add those numbers, but this is a negative sign. Remember, we cannot add negatives and positives together. So remember the song we used to sing, same signs add and keep, different signs subtract. Take the sign of the higher number, then you'll be exact. So subtract those numbers, and hopefully you'll get 10 to the 4th power, which is positive, because we took the sign of the 7 because it's bigger than the 3. So we subtracted. 7 minus 3 is 4, and choose the sign of the 7, which is positive. And you should be able to multiply this, and you'll get a negative answer because different signs, when multiplied, give you negative. So you multiply it out, and then see if you need to convert it to scientific notation. So we'll figure out what the rest of that is when we get to class. So I hope that helped. So I want to move on. Check your answers and check your understanding so far. See if you understand it. If you're still uncertain, write down your questions, bring them into class, and we'll talk about it. I want to talk about division now of scientific notation. To divide the coefficients is the first step. Subtract the exponents when the bases are the same. Convert again the coefficients if it's smaller than 1 or greater than or equal to 10. So we're doing pretty much the same thing, but now the rules of division comes in. So now we're going to divide our coefficients, and that's the first number. So we're going to take 4.8 and divide that by 2.4. I remember somebody said kick it off the roof, put it in the house. And now we got to move our decimal point. So put that over there. That becomes 24. And if you move that one space, move that over one space, that becomes 48. And so we have 24 divided into 48. And that will give us a 2. So the first part of our answer is 2. Now we got to divide the bases. So we have 10 to the 2nd power, and we're going to divide that by 10 to the 6th power. And remember, the rule number 2 says when the bases are the same, we subtract the exponents. So it'll be 2 minus 6. So 2 minus 6, so remember the rules for subtraction. You keep the 2. You change the minus sign to addition. and you change the 6 to its opposite, negative 6. So I have positive 2 plus negative 6. And I remember that song, same signs add and keep, different signs subtract. Take the sign of the higher number, then you'll be exact. So I'm going to subtract because the signs are different. So 6 minus 2 gives me 4. And I'm going to choose the sign of the 6 because it is bigger. So I'm going to have a negative exponent. So my answer is going to be negative 4. So I have my base, which is 10, and a negative 4 as the exponent. So when I got my answer down here, it's going to be 10 to the negative 4. And that's what my answer is in scientific notation. Let's check it to make sure the first number is between 1 and 10. Yes, it is. It's a 2. And our second number is a power of 10. So therefore, my answer is going to be 2 times 10 to the negative 4th power. So I hope you enjoyed watching the video. Here's a question for you. Oh, this has division by decimals, so remember, move that over and divide like we did before and subtract those exponents. So if you have problems, write them down. I'll be glad to talk about it in class tomorrow. So check your understanding. I hope you got something out of the video, and next time we meet, we'll continue and talk more about our math topics. So this is Dr. Robinson signing off. I'll talk to you in class. Bye-bye.